Hello, Professor Hoyt. My name is Shayla Jones, and I will be discussing my land ethic. How do we treat our land today? Well, we have no regard for our trash and how it is disposed of, as long as it is not in our sight, out of mind, right? So, landfills. Landfills are literally everywhere. We have a landfill in Lubbock, and it is huge. These are everywhere, and we even have a huge garbage patch in the Pacific Ocean, and currently we are working to get rid of that, but that is just a huge problem, and we are destroying wildlife because of it. We have decided that if the trash is not disturbing our pleasure, it is not important. For example, this photo. I mean, this may not be somewhere where we vacation often, so if there's trash in it, why does it bother us, right? Because if it's not disturbing our pleasure, our swimming, then it's not important to us, right? Well, not only trash, but chemical spills are a huge part. This is liquid pollution, chemical spills, oil spills go into the ocean, go into other water systems, even on land. There are chemical spills that secrete into the soil, and then certain plants can't grow, animals become sick of it, wildlife are endangered. This is just a huge problem, and it's just disgusting. And while we do have the EPA and the World Health Organization that work really hard to take care of this, it is just not, once the damage is done, the damage is done. Air pollution is a really big problem, and I think at this point we have just stopped caring about the air that we breathe in. I know that China, they are number one in the world for air pollution, and I think that is saying something. When we're just putting up these factories and letting anything be made, it is a huge problem. And I think at this point we just don't care how we're treating the air, and I think the air is our foundation for how any organism on Earth can live. And that includes plants, anything in the soil, and humans. At this point, we are just endangering ourselves. Noise pollution, while it may not bother us in urban areas, what is it doing to the wildlife? I mean, even the smallest creatures such as birds, how is that affecting them? How has our land changed over time? This is Lubbock, Texas, when it was first established in 1890, and it had just 50 citizens in it, and it had a lot of land, but not a lot built on it. So it was a lot of farmland, a lot of rangeland, and as you can see in this picture here, it was just pretty small. And now, as you can see on the map of Lubbock, Texas now, it's pretty big, pretty urbanized, and in 2021, the population was 328,293. And it continues to grow, and we continue to just spread out and urbanize healthy farmland, healthy rangeland and ranchland, and at what point are we going to say, okay, we have to stop and we have to, keep this land for agriculture? We continue to turn beautiful and very, very important beneficial rangeland, and farmland into urban areas, which I understand that's important. Like, we have a very big population. We reached 8 billion people. We're supposed to reach 9 billion people by 2050, but what are we doing to make sure that we are living comfortably, but so is other organisms, and we are still producing enough agricultural products to feed our growing population? Let's discuss. Destruction of land is a very big part of my own land ethic. Like we discussed earlier, pollution is a very big factor in the detrimental effects of our land, animals, and society. I mean, we're doing more harm to ourselves than we think we are. More than 95% of the world's population is breathing polluted air. The United States is responsible for 25% of historical CO2 emissions. There are polluted areas that are filled with toxic waste and hazardous material, such as landfills. When we take a landfill and we are just dumping trash over and over in there, we are creating vast amounts of toxic waste, and that could be spreading through our soil or maybe running down into waterways, and we don't know what we're doing to ourselves. We don't know what we're doing to our wildlife. And not only that, but we are hunters and gatherers by nature, so we still do that. And what are we feeding our livestock and our wildlife that we're hunting that could be affecting our own bodies? How are we going to fix this? How do we restore land? Not just for us, but for all other organisms on Earth. Because at this point, if I say it once, I'll say it a million times. If we continue to live this way and treat our land this way, it will not sustain us very long. And that'll start by we will drive off all of our wildlife that we need. We will decrease in agricultural production. We just won't be able to feed ourselves, clothe ourselves, and it's going to cause a detrimental downfall in the human population, and it's just not going to be good. Another thing is deforestation, which is the cutting of trees for the lumber industry. I think it is a very important thing to do because, I mean, lumber is a huge thing for the human society, and it does a lot for us, but are we doing it in moderation? Are we, when we are cutting down trees, are we putting back up trees? Or better yet, are we just planting trees now so that when we cut trees later, that we will still have the same amount of trees? Does that make sense? Also, deforestation is a huge killer of wildlife habitats. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, but I know that we have the human civilization has extinct. We have made animals go extinct because of our actions towards the lumber industry and towards deforestation. So I think that we should make more wildlife reserves and set laws in place to protect more habitats. I know that that's something that has been said before, but we need to make sure that animals are being protected, and if need be that we need something in that area that will destroy their habitats, we need to place them somewhere else and not just leave them hanging dry. Urbanization. While we all need a place to live, why do we need all the stuff that we have? Why can't we learn to live with the land instead of destroying the land that we have? Why can't we urbanize up instead of out? Let's find more practical ways to urbanize our land. Like I said again, we need to live with the land instead of destroying it for our own comfort and wildlife. While many people don't believe this, wildlife is very, very important to the human civilization. It's a whole food chain, a whole food web, and if one thing goes down, then the rest of us go down. Humans have caused the downfall of so many species, and while some species, they're better off being extinct, I mean, this says a lot about how we're treating our land. Honestly, in my opinion, we are never satisfied with our own developments, and we have no respect for the nature around us. And I mean, that can be seen in pretty much anything when you're driving down the road and you see just piles of trash on the highway. I mean, what is that doing to our wildlife? I mean, what is eating that and just dying because of poison or because they're choking on the plastic? I mean, how are we disrespecting the animals around us for our own well-being? How do we better respect the land? Well, we need to reduce the pollution from the start. So we need to start recycling. We need to think of better solutions to just reduce CO2 emissions and reduce pollution in general. I know that fossil fuels and coal and fracking is a really controversial topic, but what can we do to combat that? What can we do in a different way to get energy and electricity and stuff like that for the human race, such as geothermal electricity, hydro electricity, wind turbines, solar electricity, respect wildlife and land in the water. don't disturb habitats, pick up after yourself, go back to our natural ways of living off the land instead of making new ways to destroy the land. And sustainable farming practices, I'm also all for GMOs. I think that decreases the use of pesticides drastically, and it also increases food production for our growing population. And I think that if we modify GMOs in a certain way, then we are protecting soil erosion and soil depletion, and we don't need lab-grown meat. That's just not good for us. That's more pollution and more CO2 emissions into the world. I mean, it's made in a factory and it's not good for human health. My Land Ethic, to review, like Aldo Leopold, we need to be more respectful to our land and all things living on it. It's not just about us. There's so many different organisms living on this land, including plants, parasites, and deer, fish, pigs, cattle, stuff that we need to live. Since we have made a mess on the earth and already done so much damage, we need to find a solution to restore our land back to its original form so that our wildlife can have more functional, healthy life, as well as the human race. Because if we keep living like this and disrespecting the land around us, we will not be able to sustain ourselves much longer. And the point is that human civilization is the reason for the downfall of our land, and that is the truth. If we continue to treat our land like this, the world will not sustain us for long. And that is my closing and my revision, and I appreciate you for listening to me, and this was actually a really fun assignment, so thank you so much.